Hey y'all, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm sharing my take on a cardamom and caramel apple crisp. I figured I'd start a little bit of fall inspiration early. This is one recipe you'll definitely want to try. As always, the recipe will be listed in the description box, and without further ado, let's cook. All right y'all, so to start my crumble, I'm going to combine the flour, white sugar, some grape nuts, some brown sugar. I'm using dark brown sugar because I want the depth of flavor from the dark brown sugar in this, because we're also going to be using caramel and I believe that they will complement one another. I also have some extra cardamom and some cinnamon in this, and I'm using the Ceylon cinnamon in this part. And then lastly, I'm going to add in my half a stick of butter, and I've had it sitting out. It really should be cold, but I've had it sitting out getting ready for the video, so it's not as cold as it could be, so I'm going to definitely try to work quickly here. And then the remaining butter will be to cover our apples. To add a little bit more to the crisp, I'm just going to add in some baking pecans as well. I think this will complement the crisp pretty well. The reason it's called a crisp is because there's usually some crisp ingredient in it that gives you the crunch that you're looking for, but I'm using the grape nuts. Grape nuts to me are delicious. They add great flavor to anything. Love it in yogurt, and it's just like this nice nuttiness that you get that, I don't know, to me it really is not akin to anything else that I've eaten before. So all I'm gonna do is take my pastry cutter and try to cut this together as much as possible. You're looking for, it doesn't have to be like super well combined, but you want it to be like a little bit of a crumble here. And then what I'm going to do, because I let the butter come down from temp a little bit, I'm going to sit this in the freezer while I prepare everything else. So next I'm taking my apples, and what I have here is a blend of kind of warm spices, but my lead spice for this is definitely cardamom. Typically apple baked desserts are kind of like headed with cinnamon, but cinnamon is playing the background note for me in this. I'm a super fan of cardamom, and to me it is just one of those seasonings that is just like, it's so good. It pairs so well with apple. Definitely underrated. If you haven't tried it, I would absolutely suggest you try it in place of cinnamon, and you will be surprised. So cardamom is my lead spice here. I have some regular cinnamon that we would typically use here in the US, which is like the cassia cinnamon. That lends to like that heated spice. I also have some Ceylon cinnamon, which I believe is like an Indian cinnamon, and that is kind of sweet cinnamon. So they do have two different flavor profiles, and I wanted a little bit of both in here. I also added in some nutmeg, and then I have some salt. So all I'm gonna do is mix this around so that it gets evenly distributed in my apples. And then I'm also going to add in the brown sugar and mix those together, and then we'll spread that throughout. And then what I'll do is, once I coat the apples in the seasoning and the brown sugar, I will go ahead and place like the butter over top. I used about a quarter cup of brown sugar for this part. I think I might end up not using all of it, only because the sugar content in the crisp is really you know, high. And I say high, it may not be high for someone else. For me, I think it's high. I have about half a cup of sugar in total in there, and I don't want this part to be super sweet, considering that the crisp is going to have half a cup of sugar plus caramel on top of it. So I wanted to just have this like slightly sweetened, but not too much. I am going to just place the little pads of butter throughout. Nothing special here. We don't need to try to work it through. Remember that some of that butter that is in the crisp topping is also going to come through into the apples. And then I did have some lemon that I put on the apples already to try to keep them from turning too brown until I was ready to work with them. But this, I'm actually going to add an additional half of lemon, the juice of half a lemon. And then what that will do is help cut through some of that sweetness as well. The caramel that I'm gonna be using is the Nestle like Dulce La Leche. Ultimately what this is kind of like their sweetened condensed milk cooked in a can, and that's how you get like the caramel flavor. So what I'm gonna do with this, I'm actually gonna add this over top of the crisp, but I'm actually gonna take small dollops and just put it right on the inside of this. I don't want it spread too much throughout, but the reason I came up with this recipe really is because I needed to use this up, and I was saying, what the heck can I do with this in order to get rid of it? So I figured apple caramel, nice little pre-fall treat would be really good. And it's very rare that I make things with like caramel in them, so I thought this would be interesting. So it'll be nice, you'll get like those pockets of caramel there. And then I'll add a little bit more on top of the crisp. My camera died on me, and because I'm just almost through with doing this part, I'm not going to go ahead and change the battery right now. But ultimately all I'm doing is adding this crumble over top. And you do want to squeeze some of the pieces together to make sure that it creates a clump so that it all doesn't just melt through to the apples. But the sugar is going to also help it crisp. So that's our crisp topping. And then what I'm gonna do is dollop more of that caramel on top. I'm actually gonna add a little bit more grape nuts over the top so that that crunchy piece can come through, since I smashed up like the ones that were in there. But I'm gonna add a little bit more of that over top, and then this will be ready to go in the oven. And this is the final product before it goes into the oven. So you guys can see the grape nuts sprinkled on top and the caramel dolloped over. I'm gonna put this in a preheated 375 degrees oven for roughly about 40 to 45 minutes. And this was the final product, you guys. This tasted amazing. Nothing short of what I expected. The sweetness was perfect, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you guys will give the recipe a try. Thank you for watching. As always, I will see you in my next video. Bye.